Hello, welcome to week 12. Can you believe we're week 12? We're almost done. We're 3/4 away of the way done with the class. That's just crazy. This semester's gone so fast for me. Hopefully it's been enjoyable and quick for you as well. Um, I, the last couple weeks I've been very busy with work and life and whatever, so I'm kind of surprised actually as I'm saying week 12. So we're in the downward slope. So as always, if you need anything, if you have any questions, anything you want to go through, please reach out. We can either talk via email or we can set up a time to discuss on the phone or in person or whatever you'd like. Um, so let's close this semester out strong. I'm so surprised we're this close to the end. So um, it's been a great semester. I'm happy with the things we've been through and the discussions you guys have had and the growth you've had just in these 11 now 12 weeks. So all good stuff. So as I said last time, I want to revisit chapter 10 just a little bit and kind of talk through some of these theories and the discussions that we didn't get to have last time just because I ran out of time. But we're going to get to 11 and 12, which is your assignment for this week. But I wanted to revisit chapter 10 just a little bit. I like some of the theories they have in here about motivation. Motivation is a huge deal, right? So you you find the right people, you get them in the door, right? So you have a great staff. Now, how do you keep them? How do you keep them motivated? How do you keep them happy? How do you keep them producing in the way that they were hired to do and that you want them to do? There's a lot of different theories on it. There has been historically, there continues to be. Different people like different methods. Different managers like to do things different ways. Different people like to be managed in different ways. Um, there's a table 10.1, that talks about theory X and theory Y, and I think it's a good review of the different juxtapositions of management styles. So theory X is the concept that employee motivation is consistent with basically what they call scientific management. I like the term micromanagement, like just a very controlled, very I will tell you what to do every day kind of structure. Um, that employees dislike work and will function only in a highly controlled environment. So that's like, have you ever heard I guess it's a parable, I don't know, a story about the carrot and the stick, right? You can lead a donkey with a carrot or you can smack it with a stick. Either way, the result is, you get to the same point, but the way you get there differs. So this is kind of the stick method, right? You're making sure that you're I don't know, beating your employees to get where they need to go. So that's theory X. So it has the attitude that associates dislike work. They need an external control system to tell them what to do. So basically, a micromanager. A supervisor has to be right there all the time, very direct, telling them what to do. They will leave at any moment. Nobody cares what they actually can do because their potential is ignored because they're told what to do constantly. Um, and it says use of human resources. So basically, their potential, right there, things they can do is very limited because no one lets them do it. The reverse of that is theory Y. So that's the carrot, right? You're leading your donkey with a carrot. You're enticing your employees to work and do what they're supposed to do and more, really. So it's the opposite, right? So they want to be involved in their work. They have an internal commitment to do things the right way. Their work is intrinsic. It's not something that is forced for them to do. They want to do it. They don't need someone constantly telling them what to do. Their level of commitment is high. They want to be there. They want to perform. They want to do their best. Their potential is identified, right? So they're put in the right place. They have the right duties. They do the things that are in their wheelhouse, that are their skill set, right? So if you have someone who is really analytical and really wants to get in there and look at the numbers and dig in, they shouldn't be doing work that doesn't involve that, right? Use their skills for what you need. If your company needs someone to be a data analyst, use someone who has data analyst skills to do that, right? It seems to make sense, but it doesn't happen in a lot of cases because people get so micromanaged and so ingrained in the daily struggle of putting out whatever fire happens that day, they don't take time for their human resource management work, which is very important to grow your associates, to grow your business, to grow the skills that they are going to need to help you succeed. And then if you can identify your employees' potentials, then your use of human resources is unlimited. They can and will do anything for you, and will stay with you in the long term. So I like that table. It contrasts the different styles of management. What I call the carrot and the stick management. So it's not really what it's called, but whatever they call it, I don't know. But do you push an associate along, or do you coax them along and let them be involved and do more? So it's a different styles of management. Also in chapter 10, they talk about telecommuting, which I think this book was written in like 2016, 2017, and that was not a new concept. It's always happened, right? People have always done what the book calls telecommuting, but I just wanted to point out that that's not really what it's called anymore. So people call it working virtually, working from home, working remotely. It's not really called telecommuting anymore. It's the same thing. I mean, that's what you're doing, right? Working from home, working remotely. It doesn't have to be from home. It can be wherever, but working remotely is not. And telecommuting was, I'm trying to see what year they say it kind of started, has boomed since 2005. So it's a fairly new concept, just because of the technologies that we have now that can support it. And I know in like about 2005 is when my company started kind of looking at it, and it was a novelty. Like, people were like, what? Like, how do we manage people working from home? And I tried to, I was a supervisor at that time, and I tried to get my vice president to do it, and he just said no. It was too hard to manage people, and you couldn't make sure that they were doing what they were supposed to do. I had a team of claims processors at the time, so honestly, it would have been very easy to monitor what they were doing, because I could see at the time how much they could, they could produce or whatever. So it was, I could have done it at the time, but he wouldn't let me. But that has completely changed. The emphasis on working from home, not telecommuting anymore, working from home, working remotely is great now. So moving on to a discussion on teams. Very important in the human resources discussion, because if people can't work together, then who cares? I mean, you can't have everyone be individual. I mean, you have to have a team structure as well. So everyone is individual in that they need to do their own thing, but they're also a team in that, they need to perform as a team. So they talk about different kinds of teams, roles within teams, how to build productive teams. You can't just throw 5 people together and say, you're a team now. That doesn't work very often. It's going to have a lot of potholes and a lot of difficulty getting going. So, a leader really has to understand their people and who are going to work well together and who are not going to work well together, to be able to meet your goals. They talk about in figure 10, I have a paperclip over it, 10.7, the stages of team development: forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning. That's a common development cycle for any team, for anywhere, for a sports team, a work team, your Bible study team. I don't know if that can be a team, but people who have to work together to achieve a common goal. Because Bible study really wouldn't fit in there, but whatever, you know what I mean. A committee. Like if you're running a carnival or something and you have a committee, that this always is true. Forming is when they first get to know each other. Storming, that's where some issues normally come in, because you're trying to develop your goals and objectives, and if you're just thrown together, maybe you don't know what those are yet, and the team has to work on them. Norming is figuring out what the different roles and responsibilities are and getting them going, right? Performing, that's when you're getting there, you're doing it, you have reached a level of maturity. And then adjourning, either the team is finished or you move on to new things, or whatever it is. But that's when you're really doing your lessons learned from your experience, and have your goals been met and all that kind of stuff. So that is a stage of team development, the stages of team development that is for anything. It's not just for work. It can be for anything. It can be for for any kind of team that you would ever put together in or outside of work. All right, so that was chapter 10. We talked about a little bit from the summary yesterday. Okay, so that's my recap of chapter 10. So let's move on then to chapter 11. We'll go through 11 and 12 pretty quickly. They're about marketing. And it's great discussion, right? So as you're considering, and honestly, marketing is, I think marketing is a whole degree on its own. Now, I was just going to say it's a class on its own, but it's more than that. I mean, you can get your degree in marketing. So, it's a whole field of study just on its own, much like human resources or management, or even product development. They're all individual things. So, chapter 11 talks about building customer relationships and marketing. They have a table on table 11.3 that talks about market segmentation. So they talk about, so the whole gist is, right, how do you add value to your product by marketing it correctly, right? So they start talking about market segmentation, which basically means who are you going to sell to? Who is your target market? Who are you trying? What market are you trying to segment to get your product to? Obviously, not every product is going to be for every market, right? If you're selling, they have a thing here about one-a-day women's. You're not marketing one-a-day women's to kids or men. I mean, it says right in the name who your market is, right? Or Flintstones vitamins. You're not really marketing them to adults. They're for kids. So, you have to know who the segment is that you're marketing to, and that will determine your marketing mix. Part of your marketing mix, right? Who are you trying to sell to? Determines your marketing mix of how you're going to get that information out. So what is the product? How the marketing mix is what is your product? How are you going to distribute it? How are you going to promote it? Those things are important to know for the success of your product. So 11.3 talks about the marketing environment. So they have economic forces, competition, political forces. The one that I have always found interesting is the legal and regulatory forces. When I was a kid, you couldn't have a person take a drink of an alcoholic beverage in a commercial or in a TV show. That obviously has changed, but that was a regulatory thing. If a commercial had, I think for a while you couldn't advertise alcohol at all on TV. There was no alcohol commercials. And then, it eventually changed and whatever, and now there's tons, especially during sporting events, right? There's tons of alcohol commercials. But even after the commercials were reinstated, no one could drink them. You could just show like the can, but you couldn't show someone drinking it. Now, I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up, but fairly certain there are no cigarette ads on TV now. That's still a prohibited thing. So the regulatory and legal, you really have to know as a marketer, are you doing something that is going to get you in trouble and you should not be doing? All right, that's a brief discussion on customer relations. So they talk about different kinds of utility, place utility, time utility, possession utility. You can read about all those. I like the discussion in 11.3 about the different kinds of marketing, the historical development. So, obviously, they talk about up to the 20th century, people were just focused on making the things. Because they made the things that people needed, they knew they would get bought, right? Because there wasn't like this superfluous market of nonsense like we have now, right? They're making all kinds of things that you don't need to survive. They're just fun, and people buy them. They talk about the 1950s and how some of that changed. And you know what changed it? TV. TV made a huge difference in the way that marketers marketed their products. No longer did they have to just, be in a store and showing people or on a street corner or, going door to door. They had TV. That changed everything. TV commercials changed everything for marketing. So that was a huge change. And you can read all about that in chapter 11. Let's move on quick to chapter 12. They talk about pricing, right? Chapter 12 is about pricing, your product mix. They talk about a product life cycle, of course, introduction, growth, maturity, decline. And then they talk about how to identify the changing needs of your product mix. So in that life cycle, you also have the needs of a product line. So product mix. So um, if a popularity of a product is kind of starting to decline, then a company needs to look at their product mix and say, okay, what can we add in to fix it? How can we update this product to be more relevant, and update its life cycle, right? Extend it. Or how do we replace it in our product mix with something that makes more sense for our current market? And those things change drastically over time, as new technologies come in, or think about when women went to work in um, the mid 20th century, when women started really joining the workforce. They weren't spending all day cleaning and cooking like they used to, right? Women didn't need, well, women didn't have um, um, the convenience products that we have today, because that was what they did. They spent their whole day cooking. So they didn't need fast rise yeast, or, TV dinners or microwave dinners. They didn't need those things because that was their job, their life. Once they went to work, they only had, what do we have now? I mean, whoever's cooking dinner in your household now, by the time they get home from work till the time that everybody wants to eat, you have what, an hour? You don't have a whole day to do things. You have an hour or less. So the products have changed drastically. It's, years, of course, but products have changed drastically. So that cycle changes as the world changes, of what people want or what people need. So you can read all about products lines and products mix. I like the discussion on pricing. And pricing is a tricky one, because some people, so they talk about pricing strategies fall into 5 categories: new product pricing, differential pricing, psychological pricing, product line pricing, and promotional pricing, right? So you have sales, or you have something new that you're selling for $3 now, which will sell for $10 eventually, but you want people to buy it, so you sell it for $3 to start. Or people are really anticipating it, and at some point it will cost less, but now it costs a significant amount. I think I might have told you, when my husband and I got married in the mid 1990s, my in-laws, my husband's parents, gave us a VCR. It cost over $500 at the time because it was brand new. So, I mean, now as a wedding gift, you're like, what? Like, that's a $30 DVD player? But at the time, VHS was brand new. So a VCR cost $500. So, and when they first came out, new product pricing, huge. Now, and then, it went down over time. So there's different theories on product pricing for all different things. Some people like to say, I paid, $1,000 for this. And then the other person is like, I got this on sale for $500 and it was great. So you kind of have to know your market of who you're selling to, and maybe sell your products in different places. Some people feel that they are more prestigious, I guess, if they pay more for something. Some people like to buy things at thrift prices, right? They feel like they got a better deal. I fall into the thrift category, but everybody's different, right? So I have a friend who literally, we bought the exact same, it was a bracelet. We bought the exact same gold bracelet almost at the same time, completely unaware of each other. She got hers at Macy's. She was so excited. She's like, look, I paid $800. I got literally the exact same bracelet, same brand and everything. I got it at TJ Maxx, paid $65 for it. And I was like, look at the bracelet I got. It was a great deal. So you just have to know your market and who you're trying to sell to, and market it in different ways for different things. Macy's was all, oh, it's luxurious and beautiful, and aren't you worth it? And TJ Maxx was like, look at this great deal, So it's different philosophies for different people. And that pricing is what makes or breaks a lot of products, right? I mean, for a lot of things what your ultimate thing is, right? If it's too cheap, you're like, well, what is wrong with it? And I'm not going to buy it because it's too cheap. But if it's too expensive, you're like, no, this is not worth, I'll pay $10. I won't pay $20. That's a discussion we're having in my economics class. That break-even point of where people will not buy anymore. What is the loss ratio of people who just won't buy if it costs too much. So, all right, that was very quick on chapter 12 and 11 and 12 about marketing. Next week we'll talk about chapter 13 and start to talk about distribution and promoting products. So once you have your product line, you have your product mix, it's all branded, you know what you're going to do. I wanted to talk to you about branding, but I kind of ran out of time. Branding and labeling is big too, right? You want to portray the right thing with your label, as well as your pricing. So then it goes into how do you actually distribute and sell it. So we'll talk about that next week. So, okay, that was very quick, but hopefully you got something out of it. As always, if you need me, please IM or email me, and we will, I'll get back to you as soon as I can, and we'll go through whatever your issues are. So, all right, enjoy your week 12. I will talk to you again next week. Thanks.